Initiation stage. If you've ever taken a mock exam or a practice test before the main examination or test, then you already have a pretty good idea of the initiation stage of addiction. It is the stage where you're just trying out a beer, cigarette, or, well, something stronger that you're yet to know would turn into a full-blown addiction. It's kind of like dipping your toe into a lake to know how cold it is before taking a dive. At this stage, you're curious. Maybe you want to fit in, you're bored, or you saw someone in a movie doing it and they made it look so cool that you decided to try it out too. And when you do, the substance or behavior feels harmless and even fun at this point. However, what you started as harmless, casual fun can quickly turn into one very serious plot twist waiting for you later. It's like trying on a new pair of shoes that you know will probably give you blisters, but you do it anyway because they look amazing. You feel in control, like you're driving a car, but that car might be heading straight off a cliff and you haven't realized it yet. You're still convincing yourself that you'll be able to quit anytime. Social use stage. So your office is throwing an end of the year party. There's an all-you-can-eat buffet and the alcohol is flowing like a river. Normally you don't even touch alcohol, but because you're at the party, you grab a glass and join in on the fun. This is a typical example of social use. It is when you use a substance because you're in a place where people are using it. It's all very casual, like the chips and dip at a party. You know you're not going to eat the whole bowl, just enough to keep things interesting. At this stage, you don't need the substance, and you never use it outside of a social event. It's like a party trick. You bring it out when the occasion calls for it, like cracking a joke or showing off those dance moves you probably shouldn't. However, social use can turn out to be a gateway, and you'd find yourself looking forward to parties, not for the mingling, but for the alcohol, or worse, something stronger. And as you fall deeper into this trap of social use, you keep telling yourself that you only do it just for the fun. But before you know it, what started as a casual fling has slowly become more serious, especially if every social event involves your substance of choice. Regular use stage. To paint you a picture of the regular use stage, imagine you discover that you really like the new onion-flavored Pringles. At first, you only grab a handful every now and then, but before long, you're stocking it up like it's a limited edition. It's not that you're addicted to those onion-flavored Pringles yet, but let's just say you're very familiar with that crunchy goodness. Regular use stage is when you start getting comfortable with the substance or behavior to the point where it becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth, except with less minty freshness and more risk. At this point, you're no longer dipping your toe into the lake. You've practically dived in and already are swimming around like a shark circling its prey. You'd still feel like you're in control, but it's slowly becoming more frequent. Maybe you're not using it every day, but let's be real, you've got it on speed dial. The substance is now like a guest in your life, and it's not leaving anytime soon. Before you know it, you're denying the fact that your regular use of that substance is a problem. You're not totally hooked yet, but you're dancing dangerously close to the edge of that cliff. Escalating use stage. The escalating use stage is kind of like speeding down a water slide, except instead of splashing into a pool, you're diving headfirst into addiction. It starts out fun and carefree, but before you know it, you're in over your head, wondering how you got there. This is where you start using the substance in larger amounts or engaging in that behavior more frequently to the extent that it starts to creep into parts of your life. Think of it as that friend who said they'd just crash on your couch for a night, but is now on month 2 of living rent-free and eating all your snacks. Escalating use often starts sneakily. Maybe you had a rough day at work, you'd want to indulge in that behavior or use that substance as a way to relax. You'd even start scheduling days in the week to use the substance, like some twisted timetable, and start anticipating when those days would arrive. Risky use stage. Let's say you're starving and decide to make yourself something quick from the kitchen, but your fridge is practically empty, except for that leftover sandwich from a week ago, which still smells good. As you take a bite, you know deep down that you're probably signing up for a stomach disaster, but you chow it down anyway. This is exactly how risky use stage in addiction is, a stage where you know that excessive drinking is a bad idea, but you still do it anyway. It's like texting while driving. You know it's dangerous, but the group chat is popping off, and you convince yourself you've got this. Spoiler alert, you don't. When you get to this stage of addiction, the warning signs would be blasting off like police sirens, but you'd constantly be playing a game of mental gymnastics to ignore them. Eventually, you'd start using that substance in ways that could get you in trouble, maybe drinking before work or taking way more than you used to. The result is that you'll start missing deadlines at work, blowing off responsibilities, or straining relationships. Even your family and close friends might start to notice and ask if you're okay, but being a pro at denial, You'd brush it off with a casual, "I'm fine, it's just a phase." The twisted part is that you'd still have this strong conviction that you're in control, but in reality, you're practically riding downhill on a bike with no brakes. Tolerance development stage. Let's take a quick stroll down memory lane to the first time you rode your favorite roller coaster. You were probably screaming your lungs out like you'd seen a ghost, hands flailing in the air, and your adrenaline was trying to launch itself into orbit. Fast forward to ride number 10, and you're so chill, you could practically nap through the loops. You've gotten used to the twists and turns. It's not like the thrill is gone, but you need something more to get that heart-pounding excitement again. That's pretty much what the tolerance development stage of addiction feels like. When you get to this stage, your body has gotten so used to the substance that you need way more just to feel normal. It's like caffeine. At first, 1 cup of coffee used to give you a morning buzz and superpowers. Now, after years of devotion to your caffeine god, you need 3 cups just to drag yourself out of bed without turning into a grumpy zombie. The brutal part of tolerance development stage is that your body starts expecting the substance, like it's a VIP guest to your daily routine. And if you don't do it, your day would basically feel incomplete and useless. Dependence stage, physical or psychological. If you can't function at work without downing 3 to 5 cups of coffee first thing in the morning, it means you've gotten to the dependence stage of addiction, a stage where you simply can't live without a substance or behavior. You've basically adopted it as a weird, clingy roommate who won't leave no matter how many hints you drop. Dependence stage can either be physical or psychological. You know, you're at the physical dependence stage when your body throws a tantrum when you haven't smoked yet. We're talking cold sweats, chills, and headaches. It's like when a virus enters a computer and all the programs start shutting down at the worst possible times. Psychological dependence, on the other hand, is when you're smoking or drinking all the time just to feel normal, and not for the high or buzz, but because your brain has convinced itself that life without it is like going on a road trip without snacks. So you're just doing it to keep the peace between your brain and your body, like a tired parent managing a screaming toddler at the grocery store. Dependence stage of addiction would also skyrocket your tolerance level. If 1 drink used to do the job, now you'd need 5 to get the same effect. Addiction stage, substance use disorder. Chances are you've listened to a song on repeat so many times that you quite literally got sick of it. Now, addiction is kind of like that, but instead of a song, it's a substance. And instead of getting sick, you just can't stop. The addiction stage, also known as substance use disorder, is the point where you no longer have a tiny shred of control over using that substance. It's like you've completely lost control of the steering wheel, and you're not just drifting off course, you're zooming down the highway with no brakes as you head to your doom. The twisted part of substance use disorder is that you know the substance is messing up your health, job, relationships, and practically every aspect of your life, but you just can't seem to quit. Think of it as being in a toxic relationship where you keep telling yourself you'll leave tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. And the reason why you can't quit is because your brain has essentially rewired itself to make you put that substance as a priority. And now you're just like a mindless zombie roaming around looking for brains to eat. You've gotten so obsessed with using that substance that you wake up thinking about it, plan your day around it, and fall asleep with it still on your mind. Crisis stage, destruction. Crisis stage of addiction is the equivalent of walking into a quicksand on purpose. And as you're sinking, someone throws in a rope to pull you out, but you reject it and choose to be fully submerged in the sand. The substance has become your entire world at this stage, and everything else has been pushed aside and crumbling faster than a cookie dunked in hot coffee. You've blown through your finances, your health is shot, and your relationships are in tatters. You've quite literally hit rock bottom, and it's not the cute kind where you just have a bad day and eat ice cream in bed. Nope, it's the full-on moment where life is in flames and you're just standing there holding a useless, broken fire extinguisher. Although you're fully aware that things are bad, and yet you keep using it because somehow stopping seems more terrifying than continuing. At this point, all you have is hope that things will magically get better, which is like watching your house burn down and casually admiring the scenery as everything falls apart. Treatment recovery stage. So you decided to host a few friends at your home, but things got out of hand and it turned into a really wild party. You wake up the next morning to see disposable cups littered all over the place. Wine splashes on the walls and floor, and even your TV is knocked over. Your house has literally turned into a disaster zone. After looking at the disaster for a while, you grabbed a mop, a whole lot of determination, and got to work. You see, that disastrous room is like your drug-addicted life, and cleaning it up is the treatment recovery stage you need to get the addiction out of your system so that you can get your life back. And the very first step in recovery is admitting that you have an addiction and you need help. Treatment often starts with detox, which is like hitting the reset button on your body. Think of it like rebooting your phone. phone when it's acting glitchy, except instead of fixing an app, you're trying to get rid of all the toxic buildup that's taken over your system. This detox process is not fun because your body would not be thrilled that it's letting go of something it's gotten used to, so you're going to experience withdrawal symptoms like sweats, tremors, and some seriously weird cravings. Once you get through detox, you might decide to see a therapist, go to rehab, or join support groups where you would learn how to live your life without the substance. Relapse stage. You are probably guilty of staying up all night binge watching your favorite TV show even though you planned on watching just one episode. If that sounds familiar, you've already gotten a sneak peek into what the relapse stage feels like. This is the stage where you're already working hard on your recovery, but you just suddenly slip into using the substance that got you addicted in the first place. It's kind of like when you promise you'll just have one cookie, but end up clearing out the whole box. You might relapse when you're stressed, bored, or in an environment where the substance is around, which can trigger those old cravings. It's like walking into a bakery when you're on a diet, maybe to look around, but before you know it, you're 5 donuts deep and wondering how you got there. However, relapsing doesn't mean that all your hard work is down the drain. It's just a speed bump on the road to recovery. You might have hit a bump, but you're still driving and moving forward. Recovery is a process, and sometimes those old temptations are hard to resist, especially when they're right in front of you, looking all delicious and familiar. Long-term recovery stage. Picture yourself as the captain of a ship, standing tall at the helm, confidently steering clear of icebergs like you're auditioning for Pirates of the Caribbean. In the long-term recovery stage, it means you're back to being in charge of your life again. Like the captain of your own ship, you've officially taken the wheel again, and now you're cruising through life like a pro. This is possible through a combination of therapy, picking up new hobbies, reconnecting with friends and family, and maybe even a few inside jokes about how far you've come. Your life now is like upgrading from dial-up internet to Wi-Fi. Everything runs smoother, and you're not stuck in that buffering loop anymore. It's not like you're actually cured of your addiction, but you can now manage your life without the substance running the show. Even when you're in a situation where you would have caved before, like a stressful day at work, you're able to handle it like a pro. When you get to the long-term recovery stage, you'll basically develop a recovery radar. It's like spidey senses, but for spotting temptation from miles away. Because you're one step ahead, handling the temptation is much easier. It's like when you can sense that your Wi-Fi is about to go down, you don't wait for the connection to completely cut out, you troubleshoot before it gets worse. In the long-term recovery stage, you're no longer just surviving, you're thriving and have practically leveled up to the extent that the chaos of early recovery is starting to feel like a distant memory.